Nova Scotia, Canada is a long way from the outskirts of Vicksburg, Mississippi. The oceans of the world are a long way from the plains of the Midwest. The goldfields of Pikes Peak are a long way from the hills of Council Bluffs. The practice of law, journalism, and warfare are very different pursuits. Yet in his short life of just 30 years, William Kinsman would experience all of this, a feat so mind-boggling that he would leave a mark on the heart of General Grenville Dodge, who would in turn build a glorious monument to Kinsman. In our day of comparative comfort and safety, we reflect on a life passionately, often dangerously, and honorably lived, albeit short-lived. William Kinsman's adventures, arguably of mythical proportion, would start far from the Midwest. He was born in the Canadian maritime province of Nova Scotia. Perhaps inspired by his maternal grandfather, a former sea captain, Kinsman became a cabin boy at the age of 15. For 4 years he traveled to the Atlantic Ocean, dutifully saving his wages. At 19 he enrolled in college, and at 21 moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where he attended law school and wrote editorials for a local newspaper. Kinsman then migrated across Iowa, on foot, to Council Bluffs, where he worked in the law offices of Clinton and Baldwin. But not for long. In that day, gold fever was incredibly contagious. In 1859, Kinsman walked over 600 miles from Council Bluffs to Pikes Peak, Colorado, to engage in mining stream bed deposits. While there, he wrote dispatches for the Nonpareil. Given he was a better writer than a miner, he returned to the Bluffs that same year. In his final dispatch from Colorado, he wrote, "I am satisfied that there is not enough gold at Cherry Creek or any other creek in that region to pay for digging, and that a great many falsehoods have been circulated. Most have suffered dreadfully." Kinsman possessed a passion for politics, the welfare of Council Bluffs, the preservation of the Union, and the abolition of slavery. At the invitation of General Dodge, he joined the Council Bluffs Guards and quickly ascended from the rank of private to second lieutenant. "He was absolutely devoted to me," remembered Dodge, "and ready to do anything I asked him. No matter what the result might be, I, therefore, became very much attached to him before the war." Along with Dodge, Kinsman fought with distinction at Arkansas at the Battle of Pea Ridge, where Union forces were outnumbered 3-1. He continued to write dispatches for the Nonpareil. When Dodge obtained a promotion to general, he invited Kinsman to serve on his staff. Yet, ever the adventurer and risk-taker, Kinsman accepted commission as a lieutenant colonel of the 23rd Iowa Infantry. He later earned the rank of colonel. Kinsman wanted to lead. He wanted to make a difference. This choice would cut his life short and make it worthy of remembrance. He always led his boys, never followed, one of his subordinates remembered. In a letter to Iowa Governor Samuel Kirkwood, Kinsman wrote, "Let me do my share. I know the ropes. My life is worth nothing to me if my country goes to ruin." Putting the welfare of his troops above all else, Colonel Kinsman disobeyed a direct order from his superior, General John Davidson. A dysfunctional Union supply chain had left his men without supplies. They were starving, so he authorized them to forage and plunder food from area civilians. He then openly criticized his commanding general. Kinsman was court-martialed, but got away with only a reprimand, thus retaining his command and rejoining the war effort. But Kinsman's life was rapidly drawing to a close. The manner of his death, in a battle on the outskirts during the siege of Vicksburg, reads like a Hollywood war movie. The night before he died, Kinsman had a premonition, as remembered by a comrade in arms. "I have orders to march at daylight and attack the enemy. I may be killed, but if I live, and the 23rd will follow me, and I know it will, we will show the people at home that it is one of the best and bravest regiments that have ever left the state. But something tells me that I shall be severely wounded. See that my sword and watch and other things are sent to Mr. Bloomer, who will know exactly what to do with them." On the morning of May 16, 1863, Kinsman rallied his men to charge straight up the outer fortifications of the enemy. The first rebel volley flew above Kinsman's head. Completely exposed, in the midst of urging his men forward, he was then struck by a rifle musket minie-ball in the left side. Kinsman continued encouraging his men. "Give 'em hell, boys!" All the while he waved his sword while his face reportedly grew very pale. A second ball struck him just above the first wound. Kinsman fell to the ground just as the Confederates began surrounding to his troops. The next day, May 17th, around 10 o'clock in the morning, he died under an oak tree. He requested to be buried under its canopy. 20 years after his gallant death, an attempt was made to locate and bring back the remains, but his body could not be found. The Vicksburg landscape had changed dramatically, and it seemed an impossible task. "I shall try to have one more effort made to bring his remains to Iowa," proclaimed General Dodge, "to be buried at his home with his comrades, where he can be properly honored and the memory of his deeds perpetuated." In 1898, with Dodge's support, Joseph A. Straight and Jesse Truitt, members of the Grand Army of the Republic, returned to the battlefield and with a combination of skill and luck recovered the colonel's remains and brought them back to Council Bluffs. Dodge raised money from veterans of the 4th and 23rd Iowa Infantry regiments and made arrangements for the building of a monument. The monument was dedicated on May 17, 1902, in a ceremony conducted by Dodge. You are invited to honor Kinsman's youthful sacrifice today. A drive or walk through the winding trails of Fairview Cemetery will lead you to discover a monument. An obelisk with a bronze relief medallion honoring Kinsman is eternally protected by cannons in every direction. This hallowed ground holds the remains of Kinsman, and in a circular pattern, dignifies the final resting place of the other soldiers of the 23rd Iowa who died with him on a hot Mississippi day. In the ancient Greek epic poem, the Iliad, Achilles, the mythical warrior, is asked if he would choose a long life of obscurity or a short life filled with glory. Achilles chooses glory. William Kinsman made that same choice. We know this from his very own words, uttered as he lay dying. "Tell the boys I died happy. I fell at the head of my regiment, doing my duty. Bury me here on the field of my last battle."